So much for a great awakening.
You all are not awake.
Y'all just trending. Don't let that go over your head now. Truth and spirit is like brain and heart. One reacts out of the process of light while the other flow in reaction by darkness. One is external, one is internal, while both are eternal.
But if you only settle for the light,
You will be blinded by its radiance, and no one can see in complete darkness.
both are blindness.
Name is Master Apu Lord Ka. He was most definitely a real person that existed. He left his signature everywhere he went, and his remnants, his descendants, also left the signature of him and his people everywhere they went. His signature is everywhere. You just got to pay attention to the wordplay. All the mythologies are based off him and his bloodline and who he was beefing with and had a problem with. That's why you got Egypt with different priesthoods. You be thinking these all different deities and all that. No, they are all the same based off 79 main people for real. Master Apu is the person that started that whole culture for the whole world, like for the Moors. We already know if you break down the Bible, once you crack the Bible, you're going to realize that, the Bible was talking about Moors, period. It was talking about the bloodline of the Moors, the royal family of the Moors. Then you realize who started the Moors, and you get your story. Like, you understand that it all came from America. Then you don't see why everything leads back to like Egypt and Greece and the Sumerians and how they did their mythology. But it's all based off the reality of Master Apu Lord Ka. Let's get it. First, we gonna go into the signature by looking at like probably how the people look first. I'm just to show you real ancient relics, like real ancient depictions and historical depictions. This is the real artifact. It's not no AI and nothing in it. This is what they got. You feel what I'm saying? People been over here before the Berlin Strait and all that. They always knew American culture was the oldest culture. They always knew that. So they tried to give you the Sumerian and all this to throw you off. And all the gods like Anubis and all these things, they're not that old. Anubis is one of the older ones, but this is why. It's because this is a lot.
We will start with the ancient letters that lead to the ancient names, expressions, and the character identity from the letters.
The Egyptians tell you where they got their culture from and where they came from. And where did they come from? And you're finna see America, Master Apu Lord Ka.
Now, before we start, you must understand logically as a fact that different cultures of people pronounce things differently, slightly. People use different vowels that's far distances away from each other, but they can be talking about the same thing. You do know that. And you do know over time, things change, story change, and pronunciations also change. So you always have to take that understanding, that logical shit into consideration. Okay, now, just showing you quick examples of the change just by the vowels. Everybody pronounce vowels different. Everybody use different tones. So words become different words over time, just like this. And by signature, I mean, that's his name. This is what his name did. And you might be like, yes, different languages. One thing you got to know that the majority of all our languages really derive from the same thing. It all coming from like one unique source of similarity. And I'm finna show you that. And everybody knows this through the stuff that the Master Apu Lord Ka brought. He taught the sacred tea. That's what he had. They brought that to ancient Egypt, to Sumerian. Not just him, his people, his tribe. Before him, his great-great-grandfather did. Examna, aka what they say Tohuti. But the Ta is what that means. It all comes from America. The sacred tea signifies the master of the language, and the language is what connects the people on the land, so you can communicate on the land. It connects lands. And although the language diversified and split up and switched up over time, so did the oratorial stories and traditions that came with the language, also diversified and split up over time, became numerous. So this is basically about the start of a new way of life, or rather a new age in life, coining a noble ancestral representative to start the history of this new way of life. The simple title, Aha, The name in itself denotes a start of a certain authority, the author of their new way of existence. Thus, these characters are all mythological manifestations of the ancient ways, stars, seasons, catastrophes, rulers, etc., until a date and an initial history to what they, the ancient feather serpents, called their first lord. Hun Ahad is Lord Ka, Master Apu, the first lord, and I promise you, it's not just a celestial story. And this is why he's the first lord, because he switched the mythology design from just the stars into the inner soul and inner body medical study. Yes, he was marked as the ruler to bring us into the new world, bearing the weight of lordship, the warrior doctor he was, bringing everyone back to the realization of the soul. Therefore, a lot of his people's myths went from objects of the celestial to objects of the medical and inner body parts. Yes, he believed that the self was the soul kingdom of God.
Fingerprint is in stone, saying God writes in stone. So, and who wrote in stone? The ancient people that wrote in stone. And it ain't just started in ancient Africa. It started in America. The first pictograph. See, hieroglyphs come from pictograph. Pictograph is the first. It came before hieroglyphs. You see what I'm saying? And then you got in cuneiform is a form of pictograph. See, all that is the same. They try to say it's different because of this is this. No, that T, the American, the T symbol that ancient Egypt got and America here is what the Sumerians was using to communicate. It all represent the breath.
This is ilk, eek, the Mayan T symbol that represents wind force or the blowing, equivalence up to the breath of life. Let's get it. This is the Ta symbol, the Greek symbol, the Ta symbol, and it represents life and resurrection. Why? Because life and resurrection deal with the breath. All the way to the eastern side, the Sumerian T. You see, and you can see from the script is made to look something similar to a T, which is basically an arrow point. But either way, this all means life. In the Sumerians, this was a representation of arrow and the arrow of life, which is the breath of life.
That's why when you look at the T sign, that's how they know how to spell. Like they know how to understand ancient Egyptian kings and all. They'll see it inside the T. Then they know it's royalty. They know their name is, you know what I'm saying? They know it's royalty or something.
The Moors, man. Come on, man. Look at this. The Mary Oceanan. You feel this? The Mary Oceanan. Look at the center. Inside the T, the sacred T. Mary Magnum. You see it? The Mari Magnum. The Mari Magnum.
So, the ancient Egyptians, aka Chemians, believed in the primal egg of eternal and infinite primordial waters. The yolk of the egg was the arising of the Ben Hill, which is the setting of the space-time fabric, in which Pada arose. Pada is pronounced as simply as Ta. Ta was the pronunciation of the sacred T, the T being the initial creating, connecting, or building mechanism in the 360-degree sphere. It is all sacred geometry and supreme mathematics.
This is why Ptah was the chief controller of crafts and design, the one who holds the universe in existence, like a masonry T is used as a pillar to hold up ceilings, etc. The sacred T is the pillar of the 360-degree universe of Ra. Through time, Ptah became a universal letter. The Arabic letter is sometimes transliterated as Ta in English, for example, in Arabic script in Unicode. The sound value of Teth is T, which is the 9th letter in Hebrew, in which Ptah in ancient Chem represented the 9th being born from the primal 8.
Not the material thing. It's deep. The sacred T is also one of the first shapes that the baby takes in cell stage. The triangular cell stage. Yes. Yes, the sacred T. Let's get it, let's go. Yes, it holds everything together. If you understand, this is a T. The ancient Egyptians, the ancient Mayans, the ancients knew about this. I don't know why y'all don't know about this. And the only reason you don't understand this and you don't understand the sacred T is the reason you think the world is flat. The reason you don't know that we're living inside an egg. An egg within the egg, like a bubble within a bubble, bubbles, a rim of bubble in the egg. Because it's all water, right? Upper and lower waters. And what breaks water? A bubble. Bubble is gas, spherical gas, a spirit. In nature, a firmament egg. Oh, you thought I said firmament? No. The Ta, the sacred T. We all familiar with the flower of life, and look how you can grasp the Sumerian cuneiform text right out of it. By different degrees, you see the phonetic form as ruined. Phoenician, Greek, Latin, all of this. And look at this, Egyptian and ancient American. Literally, Egyptian and ancient American. Look at the similar, the resonating pattern. Can't deny the similarities, it's really obvious. This is the sun symbol. Now you see how the sun symbol was originally like a square, like a diamond shape. A diamond shape that came from the shape of an eye, like an oval eye shape. And you see the sun, the symbol for star, and it is the symbol for heaven too. But look how it's changing.
Do you think they know what was going on?
Yeah, who be showing us sun symbols all on TV now? They do it in all their hand symbols and all that. It's the eye of the sun, observance, light. Come on now. Why the sacred T? I'll explain what we call the sacred T because it deals with connection and building. The T symbol represents connection and building of a city by masonry and architecture. The T symbol represents connection and building by designing a form of communication for the people of the city. So you have mathematics and geometry pertaining to mounds, settlements, and language based off the sacred T. And thus the sacred T carriers are the language and city builders and rulers. And in this case, the first lord of the subject leads us to the ancient letter, which is a word and a personality all in one symbol. The Mayan glyph graph is known as Aha, and which leads us into Hunaha, and which was represented by Hun Hunapu. And now let's begin to see the signature and how it leads to the image. Food for thought, this is Apu's death sign for Semi, Kimi, translates to Kami, or Kami, and to Cain. All the same, leaving back to the Aha. We finna break it down, let's get it. Okay, let's look at the Mayan words. Okay, do you see one? The Mayan word, you finna see it's June, Hon, or Han, John. So I go to a non-Mayan website. Understand that whenever you see the J, it is actually pronounced as the H sound. So our J is Ha. So a June is a Hun, and a Ja is a Ha. Han means one, first, or start. June is Han. Now to the American Apu, Apu. What is Apu? Who is Apu? What do Apu mean? This is Apu. And it means Lord or Master.
Well, this is the hieroglyphic of Apu, the Mayan.
Okay, now what do the Mayan hieroglyph represents?
The alert eyes of the warrior, the beard, and the blowing mouth. The air for the blowgun that they use. The bearded warrior uses the blowgun. Okay, you see blowing? To blow like wind to produce the force of air. A pook, a punk, a punk. Just like a poo. A poo, impu, umpu. Same thing. Oh yeah, the essence of life is the breath, the blowing of your breath, the blowing of forced air. Oh, you just finna get deep. I'm finna show you. So from this, you can tell the best pronunciation of Hunapu is Hunapunk. It is blowing as in breathing, and breathing is living life. And the ancient American word for breath is ilk, the sacred tea. At the beginning of breath is life, and at the end of breath is death. So breath is and play the balance between life and death. So the first Lord, Han Hunapu, represents life and death, Apuku. And the real historical figure is telling a story through the mythological oral traditions and language passed through by the breath and the sacred tea. Oh yeah, according to the Living Maya Times, let's see what's going on. Aja, aha, Aja, aha. Now we all know that comes from Apu, or Ip, or Apu, or Ipu, or Ip, Apu. Anyway, one of the 20 days. This is what it says about this. It says, one of the 20 days in the Maya sacred calendar. This word means Lord in sacred Maya languages. For the Kichi people of Guatemala, Aja is a sacred being, the owner of the earth, or the earth lord. Who is the owner and caretaker of the land and everything on the surface? For many Maya, it is Aja, which is, is Aha, which is Apu. Aja is also the fundamental principle of time and space. Remember now, Aja really doesn't exist. It is a mispronunciation because the J is really, in Mayan terms, is the H sound. So Aja is really Aha, and Aha is Apu, Ahapu, Apu, Aha, Ahapu. For Epa, going to Epa, Papa, Pepe and Papa, Epa is all derived from this word. You just gotta trace the culture. Trace the languages and the culture and you'll see. But anyway, Apu, Impu, Lord of Earth. Let's get into the Lord of the land, the Lord of the whole earth, the Lord, the flat land of life, the grass, the greenery. Let's go. Okay, we got Aja. You know, Aja is really Aha. And as you can see, it's depicted three different ways. With the protruding face, the big nose, big lips. Pay attention to the spots on the face. So the ancients based the pictographs off the things they saw in nature. And off the forms of the pictographs came the symbols which produced the letters of the language. Same as that thing with the ancient Mayans. Especially we look at the side of the face glyphs. Remember this and pay attention. This is why I say these people left their signature, and this is essentially important. Do you see these anthropomorphic side faces? What do you notice? They are all the same thing, but the symbology is crazy. Look at the symbol for the whom or the approach. Look at the open mouth, the blowing of the mouth with the three dots on it. Look like it's bearded. A face based off two letters put together, and by the form of the shape, you can tell that it represents some type of dominating force or property. They was intelligent, complex, and symbolic. Because if you turn the picture and flip it up, it is a picture of a man with his back propped up holding his knees. And not just any man, a penis-headed man. Power, dominating force of masculinity, yet the head is tucked higher than the top, leaving impressions of a culture of circumcision. And yes, they marveled at the size of their instruments, just like another certain people did. Just food for thought. Back to Hunterpool. Now I did all that to show you a cultural signature. And just like they used nature and depicted and used it with the alphabet, they did their most influential ancestor like that too. I'm talking about Hunterpool, Lord Ka, Lord Apu, and you're finna see this. So Aha means Lord. So you got Lord, Lord, Lord. Now, some researchers and archaeologists, they depict this picture as a female deity, but it's Hunterpool. You can tell by the mark on the cheek, and you can look at another one. I'll give you a perfect example. This picture right here. Boom, the hero twins, and that is Hunterpool. One is Hunterpool Jr., and then the fact that it's two Huns for Hun, and then the band is Hun Apu. This is representing him and the spirit of his father, Hunterpool. So Lord Apu. You see the protruding lips slightly open, the marks on the face. The band, it means Lord. Oh, you look at the band. Even the beard, look at the beard. Look at the band. Look at the band again. Look at the Aha. The Aha for Lord. You see this? He's bearing the Lordship, holding it up, the burdens of Lordship. So Lord Apu was cursed to bear the burden of a Pacific Lordship. And they grafted this in almost all of the mythologies heavily. And you finna see. The biggest breakthrough for me is when I realized that the Mayans didn't really have mythology. They was the master of it. Just like they wrote their words, making the letters have multiple representations, and how a word can also be represented as a single letter, while two or three words can make one single thing, and how it all fit together like a puzzle. And this is exactly how each of their myths was designed. Just like that. They were extremely poetic in everything. Their language is a riddled maze, to the point that whenever you connect a piece or rise in degree, you feel the blooming of some like silent inspiration of art. It's as if they knew the corner, less informed, uneducated, brute-minded foreigners would take it all as a face value. Majority probably taking them to be simple, primitive beings under spoofs. Yet those of the true bloodline, initiated or just mentally exceptional, would be able to solve the riddles of the language, to connect them, or how to connect them. I'm serious. They purposely told the same exact stories from 3 to 4 different aspects and settings. For example, you have ancient America, was about 4 different stories: the celestial story, the terrestrial story, the priesthood story, the personic story. These are seemingly different myths. You got the celestial, which is dealing with like Chalkir and how he slayed everybody, all the celestial alignments and natural occurrences that's in alignment with them. You got the personic story, which is the hero twins. They deal with Mother Nature and the natural occurrences of the world after or within the resonation of the celestial realms. Then you got the priesthood, the feather serpent. It deals with the time, seasons, ages, and the calendar, which all leads back to the same thing, the celestial and the earth. You see, it's like each story is different, but they all is the same. Because the key to all of them is the Lord symbol. Ha or aha. As you can see, we got the aha, the ahu or ahum. Off the jump, all surrounding 5 stories are the exact same story, just in different forms and fashions of manifestation. So each character story pertains to brothers or a set of brothers, like a set of twins. Each story pertains to the sun and the movement of Venus, how one brother represents the brightness of the sun, overshadowing the other brother, which represents the flow of Venus, and which Venus is the first star in the morning, but it is overshone by the sun and then it comes back to be seen at night. The brother that represents Venus is supposedly unalived or in an unalive type state, or might just be alive and just dwelling in the land of the unalive. Now, the story continues on how he basically tricked himself back to being alive, how he basically conquered death and came back into the world, and then coming back for vengeance with the power to unalive others and things, coming back with the power of destruction, mainly reflected in Chalk Elk's story, and how he was confronted by Alpuka, the realm of the unalivement or the realm of the deceased, the inactive realm. And the fact that Apu means breath, like the blowing of breath, and Apuka as a whole is the absence of the breath. So you got to see how it all play a role, how it's all the same. So you all get the story? You get what I'm saying? So basically, the first Lord, Hunapu, in his chalk elf aspect, he wears death. He descends to the bowels of the underworld or to the soul. He goes within and he clothed himself with Apuka and then brings vengeance upon the earth, the Death Lords, because it takes death in order to start something new. And therefore, he brought in the sacred tea, the building of a new culture, the building of a new language, all of that. Let's get it. Now, Chalk Elk or the Eastern Chalk has many different versions, and I can also show you past historians and olden discoverers who also shared information that the ancients of America synchronized actual humans and major events of humans with the events of the heavens, celestial realms, stars, etc. They locked all events into a collective story, a story of science that became the religion for the mad, the carnal, the corrupt, the less knowledgeable, etc., mainly the citizens who was needed to build and work the empire. That's why you can use the science from the myths and the domestic stories to discover the truth of our past. For example, Chalk Elk descends to the underworld, and when he comes back, he destroys the corn god. Then when he is destroyed, later the corn god is resurrected anew. Now this happens almost every time Chalk Elk takes vengeance. Chalk Elk is renewing everything, starting a new cycle of things. Yet the story began to reflect more of a humane story when you realize that Chalk Elk in the Quetzalcoatl aspect is actually becoming or taking over the roles of each deity that he slays. For example, Quetzalcoatl kind of overshadowed the red ant, being the black ant that give all humanity the corn. See, once you learn that in ancient times, things like beans and corn were used as literal money, like a bean was used as a coin, then you realize the story of the ancient is not just celestial and Mother Nature. Anyway, back to the hidden but now discovered first lord of all modern traditions and cultures. So, Master Apu, Hunapu, was the corn lord, major corn lord. Yes, the corn lord. Because corn was one of the most exotic, major merchandises on the planet. Didn't nobody have corn? America, the feather serpents, with Lord Apu, gave the whole world corn and a bunch of other things. So these was merchants. This is what corn became a tool of perfection. It became a tool for mathematics. They used it in divination. It became something esoterically used. It was deep. It goes deeper. They used to. So all these characters, all these depictions is Lord Apuka, the corn god, and you see it's the pointy nose in most depictions that's going to pop up on the internet searches. But if you look deeper, going back in time, you'll see more of the bearded and the broad round nose, which is still big, but it's more broad and round. Do you see it? Now this is a more Siberian / Spanish depiction, as you can tell, and this is a more indigenous depiction. And you see it's round, you see the nose a little bit different, but it's still pointing out big nose, but it's just curvature. See, you can't 100% tell how something so long ago, how a character so long ago face actually looked, but we have to tell how close or resembled of the people or the family of this person like could have looked, because we don't want history to repeat itself and enslave a whole race and trick them out of their culture and land type. All about the beard. Do you see the beard? It's all about the beard. Well, it's not all about the beard, but that's one key thing. The beard, the eyes, the mouth blowing. And this is deep right here, because I want you to see she's sitting down, kneeling, and look at how her headgear is. We're gonna come back to that. Look at this, is called ehakato. Ehakato, another name for Hunapu. Pronounced as Heka, Hekata, Hekat, Hekati. But what you got to pay attention to is the opening of
because
the mouth.
of the curvature and roundness of his face with an anthropomorphic aligning, he was mistaken as a monkey or ape. Now, Ehakata is a Hunapu in his Quetzalcoatl form,
in which I'm finna prove to you in the very moment that yes, Hunapu was part of the Feather Serpent priesthood and the Feather Serpent tribe, the people that mapped it out. They gave you the Draconium system that gave you the 365. Okay, but give me a minute.
open mouth, the alert or circular eyes. Remember we talked about the ears? And look how the nose, it look like it's finna be a big bubblish or round nose.
Just look at the artifact. Here's another depiction of the wind god. Now look at the face structure. You see the beard, you see the ears, you see the lips.
The open mouth, blowing mouth, the air, it represents the air, the wind, the flowing.
This almost 2000 right here. 2000 BC. You see that? 1500. Not AD, BC. So this 1500 BC. This is an ancient American. You see that? Look at the cheeks. Look at the face coming out at the bottom, like anthropomorphic. Look at the big old ears sticking up. Now watch this. Look at the hair. Now,
And these are just examples of certain ancient American artifacts to show you the resemblance.
okay, this is the last and most important part before the grand finale. Hunapu, the corn god. Okay, in this history, he's not the original corn god. Long story short, he and his brothers are tricked by lords of the underworld until their death, in which Hunapu's head becomes a fruit on a tree and it impregnates one of the lords of the underworld virgin daughters. Thus, the daughters and her twin sons end up being a reflection of their dad, the first Lord Hunapu.
Hunapu's sons were also known as jaguars. Were jaguars, which are panthers, ruling panthers, and it was connected to the southern constellations.
Anyway, the twins grow up, and in the midst of claiming revenge on their father's enemies, Hunapu, their father, is resurrected as the corn god. Now, in the Quetzalcoatl story,
Which is the Aztec name for the Mayan god Kukulkan.
which is a different myth, Quetzalcoatl is resurrected as a young man as well, just like Hunapu's saliva reincarnates into a younger version of himself, Hunapu again. Quetzalcoatl resurrects from the dead and mixes his blood with the corn and resurrect new humans from it, just like Hunapu is a resurrection in corn, basically becoming the new corn and sun for the planet, fighting to be the sun against his brothers. Didn't ancient pharaohs call themselves the sun and the moon? Do you see that this is one of the original virgin birth resurrected father-son story? Other than that, do you see how all the stories are linked and can be synchronized? They are both linked by the ball game. They both travel to the underworld or world of the dead to collect bones. They are representing the same story and personages, and you're about to see right now, because based off the celestial story, by following this script and then more tested by the calendar that the Mayans got from the Olmec, it brings us to the date of 3114 BC. So 3114 BC. Now it's about to get more clearer and more personal, literal, physical, and political. Because it's only one known kingdom to have also started around that date. And it is ancient Kemians, also known as the ancient Egypts. And they started in the dates between so-called 3150 BC to 3100 BC.
Okay, before we keep going, we need to do a recap. But we're going to come back to these dates, remember these dates. But let's just do a quick recap. Okay, boom. Okay, the feathered serpents. Now, if you just do a quick Google search of Kukulkan or Quetzalcoatl, let's just see what are their attributes. What contributes to Quetzalcoatl? Let's see what the feathered serpents was doing. He was the patron of learning and knowledge. You see it? Because they was teachers. He was a teacher. Let's go to the Kukulkan. Let's see Mayans, because Mayans preceded the Aztecs. And what do you see? Knowledge.
Then if you just type in feather serpents and then look up what that means, and it just period don't goes back to leading to the same thing, deliver some type of knowledge or intelligence. You see? Science. Look at it. Let's get it. And who are the feather serpents linked to? Venus, Apu. Yeah, okay, let's get it. Apu, what do Apu mean? It means Lord, but Lord of what? The breath, the vital force. Let's get it. Life is the breath, the blowing of your breath, the blowing of forced air. Oh, you just finna get deep. I'm finna show you. So from this, you can tell the best pronunciation of Hunapu is Hunapuk. It is blowing as in breathing. So the ancients saw how the physical body, the material body had an inner force, the breath. They linked it to the breath, the vital essence of life. And they seen that if the material body has an inner force, the breath, then the earth also has some type of inner force and the breath. And it is all linked, all the breath of the earth. Notice you have trees that come from the earth. And that is why we have oxygen. See, this should get deep. So what's the name of this sacred breath, or this inner breath of the earth? Or what was Apu up under the feathered serpents teaching? What science they was teaching? What culture did they give? The inner self, the sacred being, which they call the soul, the vital essence of the soul, the inner world. Is what they was teaching. The inner world of the body, the inner world of material, the inner world of earth. And it was called Ku, 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 Ka, Kata, or Katu, or Kiab, Kia, or Kiab. The reason for the many different variations is because it's hard to actually determine the sound of the vowel with 100% accuracy. Because sometimes Ua can be Wa, or Wua. The reason being is because it is very ancient. Through time, the precision is distorted. But anyway, back to the feathered serpents and their attributes as being basically knowledgeable, teaching, science, learning. And we're going to explain what the Ka is, or the Kua, or Ka, however you want a pronunciation. We're going to explain what it is by explaining the feathered serpents and their role, and them being the lures that started the culture. And Quetzalcoatl is the feathered serpent. So let's explain his Ka, his etheric, his spiritual double, his vital force, his Ka. The panther feathered wolf dog is Quetzalcoatl's spiritual double, his etheric body, his vital essence, his aka Ka twin, which is Zolota, but because the X, it can be pronounced as Zolota, Kalota, or Cholota. You know how we explained that Hunapu had to descend to the underworld and then come back with vengeance? Well, this is what Zolota, aka Cholota, Kualota represents. He's the vengeance and the dissension. He is the death on both ends. Koloto, or Zolota, the death god, the god of the sunset, who guards and accompanies the sun throughout the land of the dead every night. Zolota is Quetzalcoatl's shadow that must be sacrificed in order to make the new sun active. You know, new sun, new way, new theology, new culture, new beginning, the sun. 3000 BC, yeah, new sun in ancient Egypt too. Yeah, all the same thing, all the same story. Watch this, you finna see. Let's get it. Master Apu, Lord Ka, nation of feathered serpents, Moors. First lord to start the empire, had a close brother or twin who aided him, which was the wolf dog, god of death. Experienced a state of death or seclusion, impregnated his opposition's daughter, in which her son conquered his father's enemies and inherited his father's ruling. The story is related to trees and plants, related to scorpions, in relation to panthers, like we said, the wolf dog, god of death, catfish, and a sacred being within the material or under the material called Ka. Master Apu, Lord Ka. And this is ancient America's story on how they started ancient Egypt, or ancient Kim, whatever you want to call it, that culture. Yes, in ancient Egypt. And how do we know this? And we're going to start on this list. We're going to start with the top, which is his name, Master Apu, Lord Ka. We found the signature. We found the actual name as a person, not as no god, demigod, nothing in that particular, not nothing magical, hocus pocus, spiritual, or mythology. We found the actual person, signature, or name. This is Master Apu, Lord Ka, name and signature in ancient Egypt, or pre-ancient Egypt, like right before ancient Egypt started. You gotta understand,
Is the names recorded on stone and all type of things is dealing with the things that happened before it started. This is the coming of ancient Egypt. Basically, his son is what started it, which is Narmer, and we finna break this down. This is where Lord Ka Apu is buried at. Well, this is where his tomb is. They wasn't never found, but in fact, pharaohs had multiple tombs, so he had multiple tombs. Still, body never found. But either way, this is a real person. Lord Ka Master Apu. Yep, signature.
This is the seal, and it is mainly deciphered by most as Lord Ka, King Alps. Let's examine it. In this hieroglyph, you see the bird on top of the Seret, the Serapis. The bird represents the ruling god called Horus or Haru, represented as the rising sun. Inside the Seret, or royal seal, you see a simple form of rising or outstretched hands. This symbol means Ka. You see a sedge, a component representing the papyrus plant. Sedge means ruler, sh, su, or so sound. Yet, this sound may be silent due to the fact that it's a symbol donating a title or extension to the actual name. Okay, next symbol, flowering reed, I or A or Ue, I, and the flowering reed represents the rise from the afterlife. Then you have the floor mat, represents the blueprint of foundation, which is a doorway, pur, a pub. So you have Haru Ka, King Alp. Haru for Horizon Lord, or for better usage, the Lord of the Horizon, the risen or leading Lord. So for short, Lord Ka, King Alp.
This is the Dictionnaire Geographical, the language of the Egypto, written by Henry in 1879 in French. It ain't nothing but a Google translation. Watch this. Priestly name of the metropolis of the ninth nome of Upper Egypt. Profane name of the metropolis. Profane, meaning profane, just like profanity. The parents or elite could use it, but the majority couldn't. It was safe, uninhibited name, the name that you wasn't supposed to say. The profane name, or the hidden name. The main name, it is the name of the metropolis. Metropolis as in metropolitan, connecting the surrounding cities, as in the pre-unification of ancient Egypt, what was called Kim. And it is Ep, or Ip. You see it? AP, Ip, for Apu. Preserved in the modern name, Il Alf Kaf Abba, of a locality near the ruins of the ancient city Panopolis, which gave the rise to the Greek name Zitmus, or Kemite. Kemim, the name of Kemet, in which we call Kim.
In which they called chemists, and which led to chemistry, because they were scientists, doctors, magi, shamans.
Pay attention to the symbol in Apu's name, the circle with the X, with the feather. It's a feather or reed sledge. Website topustest.org, and as you can see, it provides a map for Panopolis, Kemet, which is Egypt. Al-Kim, as you can see, Al-Kim was known in ancient Egypt as Apu, or Kentmem, Kim. Another website, travel to Egypt.org. Al-Kim, nestled in Egypt's Sahara province, is a city of many names and a mosaic of history, known to the ancient Egyptians as Apu. See, everybody knows this. They know this. The historians know this. So Akamim is in the Sahara province, and Akamim is Kim, and it is in the center of ancient Egyptian land. Well, southern Egypt, which is Upper Egypt to be exact. So the whole area of what they considered as ancient Egypt wasn't called Kim or Al-Kim. That was just one area, to be technical. The reason the whole land became considered as Al-Kim, because how they looked at it is, whatever conquered. So if a city or state conquered, then that would become its land. So it conquered the whole of ancient Egypt. Being the ruler of ancient Egypt deemed it the ruler, Kim being the ruler, but the whole land wasn't called Kim. So Apu Ka II came as a foreign merchant ruler under the feathered serpent priesthood of the great mystery, known to them as Amen. With the assistance of the Kunum priesthood and men or Menes culture, they conquered and unified the entire land of what we erroneously called ancient Egypt. Overall, the land isn't called Egypt or Kem. Yet two priesthoods under influence of the feathered serpents, which is known as Khnum and Menes, ruled the entire land. This is why the Greek philosophers say that Menes or Men ruled Egypt first. Men was a god and Khnum was a god. And by the help of these two priesthoods is how Lord Ka Master Apu conquered the whole land of what we know as ancient Egypt or ancient Kem. But the entire whole land of ancient Egypt wasn't called Apu either. So what was it called? Well, we're going to find this out as we keep going.
Or King Out, the Lord of Ka.
Now this is the first name, the name based off the symbols of each symbol. This is the name that's derived. But now if you go deeper into the sounds that these symbols make, it gives you an alternate name.
Second, it's sometimes shortened because of the lack of vowels in ancient times, so it should be understood as Sakinin or Sakin or Sikin. The actual symbol for this word, which are the arms hieroglyph, when the symbol is depicted downward, it symbolizes an embracing, to embrace, hands down, or a form of positive enforcement, or to positively give. Yet the actual word in all means something much more evident. So let's break it down. Se, sa, su, sia, si, se.
Which is Seka, Sech, or Sish.
Sick, sack, silk, silked, sekin, sika. This pronunciation was used in ancient Egyptian times when referring to the angles and measurements as seen by the bent arms and fingers of the Ka symbol. One of its representations being the slope of the pyramid faces, and which leads to what mathematicians call the royal cubit. Royal cubit by 7 palms. Cleverly using the body in the science of measurement because they had to be skilled in math in order to design and build great feats. Anyway, the next meaning is venom, closely connected to the pronunciation of shit. The word silk is equated with scorpions and snakes, or in all, the slithering creatures of the land that sting and poison. That's why to use the term silk at a feminine means, or when referring it to the land, then it becomes Selket, which is the exact same person as Serket, the scorpion goddess who eventually become Isis. Selket is just the original alternative way to spell Serket. Rather Sek, Seka, Selk, or Selket, it definitely represents scorpions and snakes, mainly scorpions, but it's all about to come to the light.
And Ka is Ka, Ki, Ha, Kin is Ka, Hin, Hinkai, Si, Sai, Su, Si, all pronunciations representing something pertaining to the intellectual mind or conscious power. Keach is Ka, is Ki or Ka. Ka, when pronounced with the I sound, K, represents Middle Earth or land power. Kid Ka, yet Ka is also represented as the middle or center, but for the inner plane which sit within the whole. This pronunciation means vital force, inner power, inner living spirit or soul, because it is the double self or hidden spiritual double to represent the flesh. The Kin, this pronunciation means straight out traveler. Second, traveling soul power of earth, as in the foreign teacher of the soul force, or simply traveling teacher. So Apu was a traveling teacher. And what did he teach? The ancient concept of the soul force. Just pay attention to this ancient depiction of the two twin-ish ancient Egyptians on a boat in front and back of Khnum in his Ra aspect. The god Khnum in his Ra aspect. Pay attention. The one in the front is Sia or Sa, and which is the deity of perception, which is mind power or inner intellect. Yet the one that's behind Ra is named Heka, which means inner breath power, magic, or breath of life. Yep, Ha, He, and Ka or Ki. A twin of intellect, Sa, whose name is made by 2 power words, Lord Ka and his wife Queen Ha.
Wait. I know what you're thinking. Who is Queen Ha? Queen Ha, her signature was found with the property of King Ka's, Lord Ka's things. Now, Queen Ha's signature is very essential to this study. This is what's going to really show you what was going on. What was ancient Egypt called? Was it really called ancient Kemet? I'm just going to show you what really started all this. Coach, you got to pay attention to these names and these titles and these symbols of these letters. Let's get it.
That's the birth of the ancient priesthood of Apskim, which is Kenem, and Kunum was the father of Hekam, or Kunum was the father of the breath of life. But that's the mythology. In reality, though, Lord Ka was the master teacher traveling his ruling domain and teaching the science on the breath of life, the inner world, the inner realm. Now use this story key and watch how it fit perfectly with the surrounding priesthoods and cities of the Kunum worshippers. All surrounding priesthoods is weirdly similar, but with different elements and components. Yet it explains why all different city and tribal myths were unified into one scientific religious-like system based off the facts of Mother Nature and energy.
But first, let's break down the Niha Shet, Queen Ha. Let's get it.
Queen Ha. The three balls with the lines that are connected beneath them, which is descending to a single point, is the papyrus plants used as many material, one mainly being the paper they write on. The sound is an H sound. This is what connects her to the scribes, artists, writing, language.
From the papyrus plant, they created clothing, shoes, and all other instruments. Okay, now lead into the next one.
This is represented as a well with water, also representing the cracked half egg or the earth symbol. It is also an H sound, H, and the symbol means wife, and it also connects her to the god Jeb, earth.
It all connected by patterns because the bottom of the well water smells like egg.
Being a representation of the daughter hatched from the egg of the earth. The water ripple is the N sound, N. So ha, Queen Ha, Queen Naha, Naha Ka. Some call her Naha, some dropped the N and called her Ha, which led to two different pronunciations and which grabbed her into two different aspects. Ha leading to Hathor and Naha leading to Naha Ka, or Naka, or Kua. Understand at this moment, Isis is not created yet, and Hathor is not yet created yet. Both Hathor and Isis are derived from this actual person called Queen Ha or Niha, and the fusion of local goddesses. Let's begin. Who is Ha? Ha or Hua is the queen of Sek or Sekin or Sechin or Sekin, the land of Set. You really have to study the hieroglyph to understand, but because she was of Sechin or Sekin, meaning she was a daughter of Set, referring to Set as the land, Westerner or Southwesterners. Second was those ancient Egyptians who was of the far western tribes. Ha, representing a royal noble. Sechin or Sekim became a goddess of unification when her head in consort gave the throne to her son. The ancient Upper Egypt and ancient Lower Egypt was represented by two feminine deities named Land of the Two Ladies. Upper Egypt is south and represented by Wajet, snake goddess. Lower Egypt is north and represented by Nekabet or Nakbet, the vulture goddess. To be clear, her name is pronounced Nekabet or Kabet. Now at this point in time, Hathor and Isis do not exist. The ancient cow goddess at this time is called Bats. Bats represented nurturing motherhood throughout the whole of ancient Egypt. Hathor does not exist, but an actual human title as Queen Ha does. Bats, the cow goddess, split between the two ladies of the land, which is a Nekbek, a Nakabek, and Watjet, Waset. Then when Lord Ka and Queen Ha or Neha conquered, which are the Heru of Second, Sechem, the Southwesterners, then the priesthood started depicting Queen Ha with these other goddesses, synchronizing the details of each. Bats became Hatsor or Hatsor, Hachor, Hadjor, Hathor. Nekbek or Nekbek or Nekbak was instantly equated with Hathor, mainly in the land called El Kab. No, the Kaab, the Kab. while Jet became head Jet, yet this didn't carry long or dominantly in this campaign. Before you know it, Queen Ha became a great ancestor, a spirit that was deified into a god. The goddess of the house, the true house, the house of the Haru, Horus, the house of those from afar and above, and which is the meaning of hater, from afar and above. I know, right? Big claim. Just pay attention to the rest of the details. So how did Queen Ha become the representation of the cow goddess Bat, which gave rise to the hater praise and worship? Which brings us to the famous Norma palette, which is dated back to approximately the 31st century BC. Now, one of the most misnomered things about the Norma palette is the person with the long hair who stands in front of him. And just to be clear, it is not a long-haired man. It is indeed a female. To be specific, it is a female scribe. And not just any scribe. This is the female scribe who became a goddess, a god. Let's break it down. When you break down the depiction, starting with the title name. The first is the Hobbit rope. 2 loops and it is bent, representing the stretching of the cord. Yet to maintain cattle, in which cows are main identifiers of cattle. In most cases, it is given the th sound, sometimes being ch or tcha. Yet in this case, it seems to be a ch sound, like in church or Charles, similar to a shop. Beneath the rope is what they consider to be a bread loaf. And it is what gives women names its feminine representation. For example, the female version or the feminine version of Amen is Aminta, Aminet, or Aminti. It is the T sound. So the whole word above is to chet, which is to say chet or chet, or just simply as chet or chet. Shit. Now the actually depiction of her is what gives more understanding of her role. Instantly under her neck is a tied rope. This rope overall reflects the titled name above. The tied knot or the strap, the stretching, and loops is Isis knot. But remember, Isis didn't exist, so it's more likely Hathor's knot of the cow goddess called Bax.
This is the Tayet symbol, in which they call the blood of Isis. Ash Tior set, in which she didn't exist yet, but Queen Ha did, from the frequency and the resonation of the Ha. It's as if she was represented as the physical manifestation of the ancient Alkebalon's goddess Ba'at, eventually manifesting into Ha'at, and Ha'at became Hathor. So the blood type of Isis is actually Hathor's, which is a mythologized character, as an actual ancient physical person, a empress, Queen Ha. Seshes. And do you see what's the modern name of the Seshes? Ancient Seshes is called Hu, or Hua, or Ha. The known was referred to as the Shishet, Sistrum. The main city was referred to as Hut Second, or Huat Second, Het Second, which was the abbreviation of Hu. This led to the Arabic name Hua, or Hua, Ha. Ha-Shekim, which is Shem, Hashem. So the symbology and signature leads back to Bat, Abata, Bayat. Yes, Bat has horns curling in. So this is Bat, and Hathor has horns curling out. And in this statue, she's the physical representation. The hair, the chin, the small, the angle, the big ear. It's the representation of Hathor's bloodline, but with the symbology of bats and the celestial outlining as well.
The loops and curved string represents a lasso. Lassos are used to catch and guide cattle. In modern times, we call them cowboys. Just like in the title above, the figure reflects in detail that's twice a link to the cattle, because it is a cow. Cows is female.
Signified by the cow tail.
As you can see, it overall represents the papyrus plant. You can tell this by the downward facing buds of the cord, letting you know her role as a scribe. The best example to show you this is by seeing another scribe. As you can see, the same symbols.
The papyrus plant, and this is what makes the ropes, the paper that they write on, baskets, sandals, certain clothing gear.
Now this is not your typical scribe. This scribe was royal and was highly respected because she also became a god, literally called by the same name.
Down the line, her successors start calling her
Seshet, which literally means scribe. And notice she looked exactly the same as the newer versions, as the oldest version. It's the same. Look. So Chet is Shet, and it became Seshet. By the story of Seshet, it leads one to think that she was indeed Hathor, and by Hathor, therefore, the actual recorded royal scribe Chet or Shet, who became Seshet, would be also Queen Ha. You have to know the stories to understand better. The synchronization between Hathor and Seshet was so strong that it created another goddess aspect called Hushet, the cow, the original cow, after bats, who and which was resembled as the motherly cow, all because of Queen Ha. Anyway, which is still Hathor, which is originally Queen Ha, after Ka's son Norma conquers ancient Egypt. Let's break it down more. Hold on, just wait. Boom! Okay, now that leaves us to the other person on the Norman palette, the one who stands behind him. Looked like a simple sandal holder, servant, or worker. But this is the farthest thing from a simple royal servant. Now I can show you depictions of many sandal holders or scribes, and I promise you this one is the only one with this type of royal combination of glyphs. Okay, standing behind Norma, he is watching, advising, and recording, for he is linked to the Royal Agricultural Society of the Sun, based off the starflower symbol above. This cultural symbol fluctuated within every land they traveled to, representing the culture of the celestial and agricultural royal bloods, from ancient Americas to Asia and India to Arabia,
from ancient Ireland and Europe to ancient Africa back to ancient Greece.
To start, over him is a sign which can be translated as the royal star flower, which is the rosette hieroglyph, and is the sh sound or the s sound, the sh or the s sound. Some gives it a sh sound, in which we already covered a little earlier, like how sh has derivatives such as sh, sesh, se, saha, and sesha. But we're going to break it down. Let's move along to the next hieroglyph. To the miniature mace head / malice. It is a symbol for force, and it represents the act of striking down enemies, controlling and establishing dominance. And the miniature mace head, when related to a scribe, signifies crafting, managing, control, because the miniature mace was a malice used to make reed paper, and more as the mace hammers the papyrus. Don't the judge, who is the official finalizer of all matters in court, have a malice, a miniature mace called the gavel? The sound of this is hedge, HDJ. It's a H and a D sound, like head, then add a J at the end of the head and you have hedge. So hedge. So basically in whole, the title or name could be read three ways. Shedhedge, Shedge, or Sedge, which is Shedhedge or Shadhedge, but it could be a dominant Shedge, as in Shedge, similar to adding a sh at the beginning of the word edge. So Shedge or Sushedge. The short and simpler version expressed by the majority is a simple Sedge, which is sedge or sedge. Don't matter the actual pronunciation of its indefiniteness, rather sedge or sedge, the mass commenters would had pronounced it as sedge, with the ch or the ch, sedge. Anyway, the flower and the mace resembles power, attack, strength, force, authority. So this royal member, known as Sedge or Setch, had force of authority. Now the actual depiction of the actual character of the name will always give light back to the name, with resonations of the same pronunciation. Okay, starting from the top, on his necklace is a symbol representing royal sealer, yet is covered in the forms of a gate symbol. Overall, the symbol means he's also the doorkeeper and the finalizer of all matters, basically the sealer. He set the official seals and signature of properties, setting the names and signing covenants. He represents the gateway and all essential happenings. He sealed the deals. We talking power and authority. For example, imagine if the American legislative branch was only made up of just a very small group of royal family. Imagine the power they would have. This is what's going on. It's a ruling family and this guy represents the royal sealer. Anyway, this gate symbol has two different initial pronunciations. One is the H for Hatem and two is the S for Sadu. So it can either start with an H or an S.
Because of the resemblance of the door or gateway palace, we know it's most likely the S sound, because the gate or doorway of the palace hieroglyph is an S sound. A S and B together, when placed next to the 5-pointed star hieroglyph, it becomes the Siba or Shiba, which means stargate. The gate, which is the SB, the S, the Sabah. Anyway, the next glyphs is the sandals, which is the T sound. Sandals is the T.TB for Taba or Taba. Then we have the milk jug in his other hand. This is a very royal and personal person. He's holding the milk of the pharaoh. You have to be very close to someone who hold your sandals and beverage. The milk jug makes a J juret, kind of similar to a G. So J, a guret, a ger. The glyph also shares a pronunciation of the H, the haret sound. Now let's just compare these symbols and objects with the symbols of the titled name.
The alternate interpretation of the name is a ST and M with a pronunciation of Setim or Setchim and just Sim for short. Sid Tabasim. You see the miniature mace glyph also has the M sound attached, making the titled name above a Seshim. Yet the milk jug also has the M sound, this giving you a Setim. By using all the pronunciations, it can be read as Sejim or Setchim. In fact, to emplace and combine all these symbols is what comes up with the name. So his name is Sechem or Seshim or Sechem, Sejim, Sej or Sechem or Shem.
The seal/gate necklace, which is the Hatim or Sud. Sandals is the T or Taba. The milk jug is the Jarat or Hurt. We got the HTJ for head, tej, hatej, hedge or hedge. STJ for sech, SHTJ for sashej or sashech. So SHSTJ, shasej, pronounced simpler as shasej or shasech. See how it all matches in the resonation of pronunciation? Shasej matches the above title, which is sashej. In cases of common dialogue, sashej is shortened to sage or sech. The rosette is the S sound, sash. Mace head is the hedge in the hedge. It doesn't stop there though. So sage or sage is Narmer's sandal holder, which is a position that deems him very close. The position requires full trust. It's personal at that level. Now the signs of the scorpion. Yep, the signs of the Northwest famous Scorpion King. So Sech or Sage hold down the sandals of the king that walk on the scorpion's land, the conquering of the scorpion, the land of piercing heat by sand scorpions and snakes, deeming one to be the newly king of scorpion's land, or simply the scorpion king. Wow. Sech and She'et, when it comes down to the mass society of commoners, the pronunciation would be interchangeable with Sesh and Shet. So to say Sech and to Shet is the same as Sesh and Shet. Words that become synchronized with Sechin and Seshet. Yet, yes, these are the names for Lord Ka and Queen Ha, which is the father south and the mother north. So Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. Yet both are considered to be the most west of westerners, from afar and above. That means that one came from the farthest of the west and came up through the south gates, while the other came from the farthest of the west and came down through the northern gates.
Now starting with the Ka symbol, this hieroglyph, one of the key aspects to the whole title of his name. Ka, when you turn it down, it means second, which we had already understood. And you know, second goes back to silk or sek, which is scorpion and snake, but also the beast and piercing and jet. And you add a tail to it, it becomes Apis, the bull. And the bull is one of the original chief objects in the worship of ancient Africa before ancient Egypt or ancient Kim had took it over. Bull was already there. Ka just integrated with that, and it's all in the name. It's all represented right here. Now, as you can see, you see the Ka symbol. You see it's bull, Apis, Aleph, A. Ka equals bull, cow, power, strength, fertility. And this is also the beginning of the
alphabet. It's starting off the A. This is the creation of the A alphabet that went in through all other languages. And you can follow the people. The language goes back to its original people. Just like in Mayans, Apu is the beginning. Day one, he's beginning of the calendar and representing the beginning of the letters and all that. This is the same thing in ancient Egypt with Lord Ka Apu, beginning the alphabet system, beginning language. Because he was a teacher, an educated teacher, science, dealing with all type of arts, craft. And the original Ka symbol has 3 lines, like 3 feet to represent the fingers. It has 3 lines, the pitchfork fingers going up on each side, and the arms are in the curve. So it represents the horns, but it also represents the crescent of the moon, because the bull is also representing the moon. And the fact that the arms are going up, it represents a form of praise and worship. So you can understand what type of ideology was given to these people, what type of things that was teaching. It was about the health, it was medical, but it was also about the constellations. It was the praising of the astrology stars, the astrological stars that was tied to your inner soul path, your Ka double, your Ka, your spiritual path. This is the original way to write the Ka symbol. The fast way, when they wrote it in script and they just printed on different things, this is how they wrote it. It was 3 stems. I'm thinking at this point though, when they were spelling like this, it wasn't really, it had the reputation of the bull, but eventually it became all of that. But this is the Ka symbol, and these 3 stems represent 2, but that's a much later story. And then if you can see here, this is the second form of the Ka symbol. As you can see, it's starting to form into what you see, your bull hands and your little bull tail, snake claws and all that, because it's dealing with the celestial. Let's go. Yes, these are the original agricultural signs of the ancient Egypt, pre-ancient Egypt, before it was even ancient Egypt, before it was even all of that, before it was a camel. Now, if you've been paying attention to what's been going on, you would see how now this represents something dealing with the scorpion and how it conquered the bull emblems. Not obliterating the bull worship in its entirety, but overlapping it when it was fused with it, intertwined with it. Sejim, or Sesekim, Setchim, or Seshem, or just Shem is the scorpion that conquered the bull, or harnessed the bull, that rides the bull, is the bull. He replaces the bull. He is now the bull. Look at the combinations, the same combinations, the resonation of the mace head with the Ka, the Sekum, all of that is the same. And Selkum is scorpion. It's silk. It's scorpion. It's either Waha or silk. That's how you pronounce scorpion. That's what you see. This is the Scorpion King. Lord Ka, Norma, is the Scorpion King. You see the beard? You see the chin strap? Okay, you see the high round big ears, you see the big round fat nose. And you looking at the tattoos, I know you're thinking, wait, they never depicted nothing with tattoos. Yeah, but they definitely did. They didn't put it on their statues, but they definitely had them, and it's all on mummies and the other people of the ancient Egyptian times. While the textual record from ancient Egypt makes no direct reference to the practice, there is much iconographic evidence, as well as a number of tattooed, desiccated human remains. While there is no direct textual evidence from ancient Egypt about pharaohs having tattoos, archaeological findings, including tattooed mummies, strongly suggest that ancient Egyptians, including women, did practice tattooing. So yeah, they did have the art, they had the tattoos on their body, the sacred symbols, the prophets, what they called it, it was all up on their bodies. They just didn't depict it on their statues. Shocking, because every time they make a movie about ancient Egyptians, they never put the real people's skin color, they never put the fact that they had tattoos. This is a neck of an Egyptian mummy, and this is an arm and hand. Yeah, how the ancient people connected to the gods really looked. Lord Ka, Master Apu, Sekum, Sejim, aka Shem, Goddess Niha Teshet. Master Apu ruled southern Egypt, in which it was called Apu. Queen Ha ruled the north, and northern Egypt was called Hua. And when the northern Ha, also known as Shet, merges with the southern Apu, also known as Shem, it becomes a Sheshem. Chet to Shem, Sheshem, Seshem, Sekim, all the same word. And this is evident when you look at the crowns of the land of the ancient Egypt. So the depiction of the lower Egyptian crown, which is the northern crown, was basically a decorated and wrapped hairstyle. It is called the deshret. The upper Egyptian, which is the southern crown, is called the hedjit, and it is also a hairstyle, but it is decorated or wrapped or whatever. But now this is where it lines all up, because when you combine Queen Ha with Apu, the north with the south, the crown becomes Parsecum, Parsegum, the same thing. Parsegum T to be exact, which represents the land of the scorpion. Secum. Boundaries of ancient Shem, which is the real ancient Egypt / Kim.
Ancient Shem goes as far north to the Mediterranean. Notice the Medai in Mediterranean. It also goes as far east as into Israel. It even stays west all the way to Libya. And then it goes all the way as far as down south to Sudan. And this is speaking of Ta-Second, aka Shem's major influence, the capacity of his ruling and influence in culture. Kim is just a river system named by the Kunum priesthood in their time of ruling. But because of the precision of the Menu culture, the priesthood was subject to authority of the Menu culture. The Min culture took control over all neighboring priesthoods in unification. Overall, you have the Kemet system of rulership, ruling over the land of Kim, the capital metropolitan river system of the entire empire of Shechem or Sekim, Shem. And within the land of Shem, only the land that was affected by the flooding of the Nile was considered the Black Land, Kim. But the entire land that these people inhabited and controlled was called Deshret, which is the Red Land, Deshret. The Red Land of Shem. Overall, you have the Black Scorpion of the Red Land, Shem.
Yes, Lord Ka and Goddess Ha. Goddess Ha, God Ka, torn away from each other due to royal settings, law, and punishment, hid their affair and hid their royal child, just to reunite in a far later time, to crown their now grown royal child as the god of the land. Yet what was lust at first sight developed into an eternal love, and that love played a significant part in the development of our entire culture for the past 5,000 years. Because of this love, we now have religions, medical fields, etc. Almost every single religion or spiritual practice deals with a key component that leads back to Lord Ka and Goddess Ha. Goddess Ha, the ruler of the beloved land called Ameriti, which is ancient America, and Lord Ka, the arisen from the dead, disguised as the black scorpion of the red land, by deceit, cleverness, and extreme intelligence, conquered the southern and western lands of the ancient Northeast Africa before it was called Africa. And then they went and mysteriously by influence conquered the rest of the earth.
Back to ancient America. Now from studying the different tribes, empires, and overall comparisons in ancient America. When it comes to their most common understanding of the world and their racial classifications, it seems that they are seemingly accurate. Yet, it also kind of goes against the modern accepted idea of many dark blacks, as in the heavily dark-skinned. Modern Africans being in South Africa. The dark black man really was in Asia around 3000 BC. The pre-Mayans, pre-Olmecs, pre-Mohawken, etc. mapped everything out more accurately with the calendar way before anybody else on the planet, and that's a fact. And from the ancient American point of view, they had 4 rulers in 4 directions who held up the world. Not the nation or empire, but the world. They spoke of the black man of the West. Yes, the Crow man of ancient Hawaii, Western Islands, etc., onto Southern Asia, toward India, to Arabia. The ones with the darkest of flesh.
It's like y'all overlook and forget the fact that since ancient times, Asia has been depicting the darkest of people. The darkest, the ancient Japanese and ancient Chinese people was very dark. Krishna is one of the biggest Asian and Indian gods. That whole land is all the way to Saudi Arabia. For the Ethiopian Somalians, the dark skins merging to the eastern side, leading us to
the red man of the East, which resembles the mahogany red / which is brown reddish like the modern African Americans, copper tone, ancient Canaanites, Pelasgians and Etruscan, Libyans and Shemites / Kemites.
And this red man's mahogany copper red color goes from
a dark brown to like a light yellow, leading to
the yellow man of the south of Africa. Khoi people, oldest civilization in south of Africa, and closely resembles the same hominin that's found in south of the Americas, and around 2000 BC, they all shared in the Shi language found in Africa, though they had dark complexions. Mainly they wear yellowish brown and tanned like Asians, but more saturated. And finally the cold lands of the north, where it showed more white earth, ice and snow, and because of lesser direct sunlight and thinner air on the they flesh, had begun to de-evolve in order to endure in relation to the climate. And thus, from northeast to northwest the lighter-skinned, low-melanated appearance succeeded. According to the ancient Americans, all Bakhabs was sacred and divine in their own realm. Anyway, we have two great ancient civilizations that started almost at the exact same time. One in the Eastern Hemisphere and the other in the Western Hemisphere. Is it a coincidence that the Western civilization said they had a red ruler to hold up the sky in the East that they also called the Black Scorpion, and then you actually look at the Eastern civilization starting at the same time, and it shows an empire represented with a Black Scorpion ruling what they called the Red Land? Yeah, it's not a coincidence. As you are about to see, that both the Eastern and Western civilizations was ruled or influenced by the same source of authority.
Master Apu Lord Ka. We have already discovered the signature. We showed you how it possibly could have looked at something similar. Shows you a connection with one of the myths. Now let's show you that he's a nation of feathered serpents, the ancient Moors. See, you have modern Moors, and then you have the ancient Moors. Yes. The modern Moors are based off the ancient Moors, but the ancient Moors are the Amaru people, the Moru people, Amuri people, the Tamiri people, the Amurita people, the Amiriti people, the Amurti people. And the Moors, the ancient Moors into the Moru people, we know they deals with the serpent or the reptilian some type of way. It's in their ancient culture. You see, they was the queens and the kings, master of the dragons, the Khans, the dragon kings. The dragon was the crocodile that they ride on or train. Yes, the ancient Amaru people used the serpent, the reptile, as a symbol, as a royal symbol. As you can see, the serpent mound. As you can see, the serpent temples. As you can see, it was called the feathered serpents. As you can see, it was called at one point in one area called Turtle Island, which is a serpent in a shell, a reptile in the shell. Let's get it. Disability Studies Quarterly, the first journal in the field of disability studies. See, this is a website that has nothing to do with no type of agenda trying to make you understand where nobody came from, no genealogy or nothing. This ain't trying to prove that people was from America or indigenous people or ancient Egypt started from nowhere. This ain't nothing like that. This is a website trying to explain disability and where it came from or derived from or where certain things stem from. And look what it says.
Historically, white Americans might have reacted to the rattlesnakes depicted above with incredulity, violence, and disgust. In an earlier North America as today, Euro-American settlers interpreted rattlesnakes as dangerous pests and burned them alive in the name of Christianity, Silko 110 to 111. Meanwhile, the great range of meanings and stories that diverse native peoples applied to rattlesnakes was too complex, varied, and at odds with how most Europeans saw them, for settlers to grasp. Levy 155. 3. For many native nations, different snakes hold varied and particular meanings, but rattlesnakes often feature specially as spiritual ancestors, powerful skin-shedding warriors, Levy 156, divine messengers, and bringers of rain. Silko 110. But rattlesnakes often feature specially as spiritual ancestors, powerful skin-shedding warriors, divine messengers, and bringers of rain. Powerful skin-shedding warriors.
Powerful skin-shedding warriors.
Divine messengers. A Wanyu is a Tewa deity represented as a plumed or horned serpent. To be accurate, based off the facts of the details, it is a horned plumed serpent. He symbolizes water and lightning. It serves as a guardian of water sources and is a common motif in Puebloan art. This is rock art at Siraj, This petroglyph in New Mexico portrays a Wanyu with a sinuous body, reflecting the flow of water and the zigzag of lightning.
Feathered serpents. Because when you look at the ancient Northern Americans, the southeastern of North America, you see these people. These people was called little serpents. They was like the breakdown or a splinter cell session for the ancient Washita tribe of people. You know, the queen who ruled all the land. These serpent people, they called themselves the little serpents because they was Yuwachi Indians. That this is the sign that the Ohio Mounds in America, feathered serpent, the Shawnee and the king of the serpent.
According to Tenskwatawa, often referred to as the Shawnee Prophet, when the first Shawnee people came to this land many thousands of years ago, several warriors were lost when they were taken beneath the sea on the back of an immense turtle. Anxious to rescue these men, the people called upon their grandfather serpent, the king of the serpents and ruler of the world below.
They prayed for people to come back that were lost in sea, the underworld, the world of the ocean, that was ruled by grandfather serpent. See, they serpent people. Keep going. Look at this, native-languages.org. The Native American horned serpents from various tribes. And look at you, see the black water serpent, Blackfoot, Jita Scarf, Albaniki. You got the Arrowpow, the Micmac, the Fox tribe, the Cheyenne Indian. Like it's gonna be different.
Native American horned serpents of myth and legend. Horned serpents are a type of mythological freshwater serpent common to many tribes of the eastern United States and Canada. Horned serpent legends vary somewhat from tribe to tribe, but they are usually described as huge, scaly, dragon-like serpents with horns and long teeth. Sometimes they move about on the land, but are more often found in lakes and rivers.
Rivers and lakes. You see how the serpent people are always attached to water. Rivers, lakes, ocean, something dealing with that.
This is a picture of the Oconee River in Georgia, which is Yuchi territory. Oconee is an anglicized form of the Itsati word Ocni, meaning born from water, but different sections of Yuchi, in which the name's meaning varies. The name Oconee can also be an anglicized version of the Cherokee word Eikwone, which means water eyes of the hills. Either way, it deals with the water, river, and lake, because the serpent people are known for their relation to the body of waters, lakes, rivers, etc.
Because they was Yuwachi Indians that derived from the Wachita Indians or Uchita Indians, the Washita Indians. Then you have Yochita or Yochi. The Yochi came from the Washita. It goes deeper than that. But anyway, the Yochi was called little serpents, and they was the shamans. They was hooked up with the bird shamans, and they was the bird surface shamans. These are the feathered serpents of North America, and they was the mound builders. The Yuchi Indians were among the first inhabitants of the Etowah Mound site in Georgia, which is now near Cartersville. They were also known as the mound builders. And I'm finna show you how they was linked to the falcon, which is the Horus bird. They was linked to the serpents. Majorly, they were the feathered serpents that was traveling along. You could tell by their language.
The whole ancient Americas continent was the indigenous cultural home of the feather serpent priesthood, which was the Kanakian Moors. Moors for Amaru. The Maru Khans. As in the Khans. The Kanoke. The Kanakians are those who left the beloved land, Ta Maru, reconquering and developing the lands of the seven seas, in which the main key land being that which we erroneously call ancient Egypt, which is really the land of Shechem. Shem for short, while what we call Kem or Kemet is actually the capital city of the whole nation of Shemti. Shechem, Shechem, Sedchem, Sejem. They are all in deathly different in pronunciation, but overall they are producing the same sound. Shet, Shem, Shem. Established by the Kanakians of Tamaru. The Kanak is synchronized with Canaan, Canaanites, and Tamaru becomes Amaru. Amaru of the Canaan. We all know the Canaanites are the sea people, and the sea people are Moors. Feathered serpents of ancient Americas who became the so-called Egyptians and Phoenicians.
When you hear Kanaki, it is a simple term to refer to the Khans and Nagas. And this term gives them their individual identity while expressing their original unison.
So in ancient America, we got Khan, Kan, Kun, which is synchronized with ancient Egypt's word, Ken or Khan. And this is because all these words either mean the same thing or deals with the same element of the subject. Mainly though, In both areas, these words represents a form of royalty, authority, etc.
Next we have Nada, Naka, Naki, which is synchronized with one of the terms for the crowned snake gods in the ancient Egyptian language, which is Neger.
Nirju are serpent gods, and that's why almost all the ancient Kemet gods have serpent forms. Ra is a serpent, Osiris is a serpent, Anubis is a serpent. I mean, I can keep going. Isis is a serpent, and they was Moors.
Meru is also spelled M-A-U-R, which is the same word in which that we see here on the still, or the Palomar still from out of the British Museum, dating back to 2500 BC to 2401 BC, and the term Muur means a high priest to Anu. So, these high priests were the Cushites, and they got the name Muur or Meru from the capital, all right? At one time that was named Meru, in which that becomes Moro. Right? The Encyclopedia of Biblical Literature. There is every reason to conclude that the separate colonies of priestcraft spread from Meru into Egypt. So the ancient priests were the Cushites or Meru people, the Anu people. The primeval monument in Ethiopia strongly confirms the native traditions reported by Diodorus.
You see it? Mai or Ma, May is the seer, a watcher, he who keeps a lookout on a fort. You see what's going on? These are the watchers, man, the Moors, the watchers of Anu. And these Moors was the feathered serpents that was represented with ocean, lakes, and rivers, water, liquid, the sea people, the Kanakians of Amaru, Tameri, the ancient Americans who came across the sea and landed on the dry or scorched land of the sun, Tara, aka Tierra, which is ancient Africa.
Back to this clip. Okay, you see the word Ma'a. Well, that is the same as the word Maya, in which is really pronounced not as Maya, but as Maya.
Maya. AppalachianResearch.com. In the case of the ancient Americans, Empire of the Mayans.
A Native American translator on the Spanish ship yelled to the men and women in the trade canoe words that meant, "Where are you from?" They answered back, "Ma'am," which meant lake people. Now the Florida word, Miami, is the anglicization of Miami, which means lake, people, place of, principle in both their language and its song. By the way, the correct pronunciation is a. The letter Y in Spanish is pronounced like in English,
So Maya. Now back to this image. So pay attention to the symbols that you see. The Royal Star Sunflower of the Ancient Agricultural Society of Shamans, Crafts, and Merchants. And the serpent or the serpent staff, which symbolizes the spiraling forces, the resonating wave patterns that reflects in all nature, mainly in liquid, fluid, oceans, waters, seas, lakes, rivers.
This cultural symbol fluctuated within every land they traveled to, representing the culture of the celestial and agricultural royal bloods. From ancient Americas to Asia and India to Arabia.
From ancient Ireland and Europe to ancient Africa back to ancient Greece.
To start, over him is a sign which can be translated as the Royal Star Flower, which is the Rosette hieroglyph, and is the sh sound, the sh sound, the sh sound.
And this is in ancient Egypt. Now let's look at the American.
In the Nahuatl language, spoken by the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican cultures, the word for flower is xochitl. The word xochitl is pronounced roughly as shashitl. It's the strong shu, or the ch sound,
the sh or ch,
the sh sound,
for the flower or plant. In the Navajo language, the word for flower is chilata hazun. Did you hear the strong sh or ch?
The sh sound.
The Yuchi word for flower is a shluskii. Shluskii to be simpler. You heard the strong sh or ch.
The shit sound.
The Lakota word for flower is Wanaksha or Wanaksha. Either way, do you hear the strong ch or sh?
The shit sound.
So the symbols they use for their letters might be different, and the order of their alphabet might be different, but you can't deny the comparisons of their tones and pronunciations.
This is the Egyptian god Happy, another representation of the Nile River, and as you can see, he is literally pouring. He's pouring the river, or he's pouring the first snake. And this is the weight upon Apec, equals the pressurization of waters of the whale. This actually has two more other meanings that's solidified, but I just wanted you to see that it deals with water. Multiple times cutting of Apec equals multiple ejections of a small amount of water, as you can see, which also has other meanings, but it still pertains to water. This is depicting the containment of the waters of the whale. You know, as it say, autumn equals 1 bucket of Apec. Water, ocean. I know it's liquid. I know it's water, something like that. I mean, you can clearly just look at this picture and you can see it's water. The waves. Pressurized water. You see the coiled serpent, one of the most sacred symbols and metaphors. But yes, but look at this. They're literally riding on the serpent. They're riding on the waves of the water, the serpent. And Apec also represents the same waterways that will devour you. And what devours you? The ocean. It's as above, so below. So if Apec represents the promoter chaos, the devouring chaos, it also represents that on, Earth. And that's why they're riding on it. They're riding on the ocean, and the ocean will devour you. That Apec was known as the encircler of the world. And what encircles the whole world? The ocean. And where do they say Apec awaits for Ra? He wait on Ra in the west. He devours Ra in the west, where the sun sets. So Horus, aka the horizon, happens in the east and sets in the west, where Apec is. So basically, Apec is the ocean of the west. Where the sun goes down, disappears, as if Apec is devouring it. The Atlantic Ocean. Isn't the Atlantic Ocean west of Egypt? And when you think about the Bermuda Triangle, it definitely devours. Leading to ancient America, the Muur, the Moors, the feathered serpents. Okay, now back to Master Apu, Lord Ka II. Okay, do you remember his name? Second represents like wisdom, something dealing with teacher and traveling, and then how the feathered serpents deal with like science, knowledge, teaching. Well, let's look at the bloodline. Everyone that ruled after Lord Ka, his bloodline, Norma and Norma's sons. Let's look at them because they're feathered serpents, and you're finna see. This is Jet, Horus Snake, which is what? A feathered serpent. This is Den, aka Horden, means falcon water bringer. People called him the golden serpent, feathered serpent.
This is the statue of the highest priestess of the Amenco, called the wife of God. Just look at her crown. Look at the texture of her hair. Look at the serpents in front of the feathers. Feathered serpents. This is Jur. Jur, defender of Horus, Nation, he who belongs to the golden one. Another name for the Jur was Atharis.
Remember now that the Sumerians give account of Enki, also known as Lord Ka, as being a scientist. His female companion was also skilled in these ancient scientific arts. These ancient scientists is what we in modern times call magi, mages, medicine men, warlocks, sorcerers, wizards, shamans, necromancers, etc. This is evident in the golden serpent bloodline of ancient Chem's Lord Ka and Lord Narmer, because DJR is the father by royal law degree of Jet, who is the snake of Horus, the grandsons of Lord Narmer. Now listen to this. When pertaining to DJR,
so you can know who we talking about. We talking about
I shall
Mindy.
carefully record the royal families one by
Who's
one.
Horha?
Their succession in detail is as follows. Eminees of this,
whom Herodotus named Men, and his 7 descendants. He reigned for 30 years and advanced with his army beyond the frontiers of his realm, winning renown by his exploits. He was
Now
carried
listen
off
for
by a hippopotamus god.
Atatis, Dejera.
To Athatis, his son, held the throne for 27 years. He built for himself a royal palace at Memphis, and also practiced the art of medicine, writing books on the method of anatomy, the art of medicine, writing books on the method of anatomy, the art of medicine, writing books on the method of anatomy.
Boom! There y'all go. Do y'all see it? The serpent bloodline, the ancient magi, the physicians, those who ruled the world, they was basically king physicians or like doctor lords, like scientific warriors or something. Imagine a scientist that's a king, that's a warrior, that's like, you know, back in the day, that's like, you feel me? That's what you call true warlock shit right here. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, man. It all started from the Americas, man. The Moors, the Maru, the Amaru-cans, the Mariners, you know, mermen and merwomen, mermaids. Yeah, as they came from the great beast, the great sea beast. Yeah, Rose on these people land. Someone was strange and someone was weird, but they brought the ark. They brought the ark to their homeland. Quetzalcoatl,
True
yeah,
Naga.
the Christ.
Kentiamentu,
Chianti-Yamatu, Ashimtu.
the cult of the mythicalized character based off Master Apu Lord Ka. And it is Kentiamentu.
Chianti-Yamatu.
And yes, he looks just like an Osiris and Anubis. All these are the depictions of him. He's came up under the Heru priesthood as well. So he's the falcon bird, he's Heru, he's the Anu dog. But he's the dog before it was necessarily known as Anubis. Iwi, or Iwewi, or Wapwawet, or Wapu, Wapapu, Wapwet. Becomes Apu, leads to Umpu. By the time it hits Greek, it becomes Anubis or Anubis, which I tell you, it really is a symbol for Anus bis or Anus cat, because it was actually the panther bread, but that's a whole nother story. We're gonna get into it. Just know it's time to lock in, because if all the main deities are basically ancient Amarucans, then. But I'm finna show you. Just let's pay attention.
Now that the feathered serpents is explained, let's get more intimate within the folds of their royal degrees. Because, if you remember, I told you about the Min and Knum priesthood. Well, that Min priesthood is a sub-priesthood of the original priesthood of Kenti-Amentui. This is the enforcing priesthood of the feathered serpents. An easier way to say Kenti-Amentui is Ahmentui for short. And from this term came the confusion of priesthoods. Min, as in the Menes culture, did indeed rule, but it ruled in subject to Kenti-Amentui, which is the conquerors of the land, the other Min. So basically everyone thinks the Menes culture started ancient Egypt, but it wasn't that Min. It was Kenti-Amentui, also known as Ahnem, and this is why the old historians as well as modern folks today often mistakenly confuse the settings and accomplishments of Kenti-Amentuai with Menes and Knum. The originator of that ancient land is Kenti-Amentui, and not just that, Kenti-Amentui is also the beginning of the Anubis and Osiris cults. There wasn't no Osiris when Kenti-Amentui existed, and that's because he was the original Osiris. And this is why some ancient Egyptians' texts say that Osiris started ancient Egypt. They are referring to the priesthood of Kenti-Amentui, the enforcing cult of the feathered serpents. Yes, everything about ancient Egypt is misinterpreted, half of it was deliberately mistranslated. But anyway, let's break it down. First, let's understand who is Kenti-Amentui. Kenti-Amentui is the personal cult and metaphoric character of Master Akpu Lord Ka II. Yes, Lord Ka is Kenti-Amentui, and Kenti-Amentui became Osiris and Anubis. You can tell this because the name Osiris or Asaru doesn't appear until the 5th dynasty. And in this same dynasty, Kenti-Amentui began to be treated as an independent deity, separate from its avatarish forms, thoroughly establishing two separate deities based off the actual events of one real true person. Throughout the advancing times of ancient Egypt, they begin uniting and fusing the original priesthoods and cults to show their authenticity to the actual historical people who actually existed. Before we explain the Osiris and Anubis unison, let's understand who Kenti-Amentuai is.
The enforcing culture of the feathered serpents was called Chanti Amatu, aka Kenti Amantu, which is Akumantu for short. And the mainstream known meanings of this word is She of the West, foremost of the Westerners, Lord of the hidden place, or Lord of the dead, which is representing the spirit or the unseen. To put it all together, it can mean Lord of her western hidden place, or Lord of her western sacredness. Because in ancient times, it was about matrimony and matriarchy, and where the mother had sacred and equal authority, sometimes final authority for the whole party. Now, according to a lot of ancient Egyptians' writing, mainly the one we call the Book of the Dead, which is really called the Book of Coming Forth by Day, in that book it explains to you that Amenti, or which is the Dua, no matter what name they call it by, they say is to the west, the farmost of the west, within the deep darkness of the ocean, is where the hidden land of the dead is. So the dead and the gods all exist somewhere out in the western ocean, is where they say the location of the gates of the underworld is, because they came through the sea, because they was Moors, sea people from Amaru, Americo, the Khans, Kente Amente. Now, Kente Amente represent the first of the four, most of the Westerners, or the head chief. So that's telling you that he is Lord Ka Master Apu, the first, Hun Hunapu, the head honcho, the leader. And it's all in his name. That's why all the pharaohs has the signature of Kente Mente in front of them. At the beginning of ancient Egypt, the list they got for the beginning, each pharaoh has Kente Mente name in front of them. Because this is the enforcing priesthood of the feathered serpents that took over. And Kente Mente represent the head of the one from the west, which is Lord Ka Master Apu. Okay, remember when I just gave you the list of the feathered serpents dealing with Narmer, Din, and Dejur, aka Athatis? This is the same list. These are the same people, and they're basically saying they all represent Kente Amentu. They all are far westerners. And because of Master Apu, Lord Ka II, they all come from that part of the world. Kente Amente, as you see right here, paying homage to the leader, the head honcho, who the Anunnaki sent, or the Anu people sent to rediscover the bones or start the culture again, or reestablish the culture. This is the beginning. This is the start. Oh, and when I tell you that this gets deep, and this is the land of Shem, because even this word, Kente Amente, Akumatu, they also pronounce it in a double way, because it's also pronounced as Shemtu, Shemti Amentu, and Ashimatu. In fact, the original way to say it was Cha or Sh. It had the strong CH or SH sound, because it was Shemti, a Shem, Shemtu, Shemti Amentu, Shemti Amatu, Shemti Amatu. Shemin, Shem, Shemti, Amentu, Min, Shem, Min. And the Min and the Amenti is what they mean when they say that men reestablished or conquered or unified the beginning of the ancient Kemetic, which is actually the ancient Shem. Lord Ka, Master Apu II. And this is, if you look at them, these are his royal guard. This is Lord Ka's ancient royal garment, the ceremonial garments. You see what I'm saying? And look what it looked like. It looked like the American flag. It looked like the Confederate flag. He's a walking Confederate flag. Lord Ka is Master Apu. Way before those U.S. people took over America. Look what they represent themselves by. AKA Second or Sejim, which is Shem, the green one, the father of the serpents, the feathered serpents, the foremost of the westerners, those who led those westerners to Sateti. Taseti is the land of the bow. That is west and south, parts of South Africa, but West Africa, that is Nubia. That is Taseti, not necessarily Egypt or not necessarily the whole Red Land, but that is Taseti, the land of the bow. That is what is south and west of ancient Egypt. The farther west is the Atlantic Ocean, and within the Atlantic Ocean, beyond that is Amenti. Come on, man.
I mean, Amaru, Tamiri, or Miriti, aka America.
Who is Kentiu Amenchui? So basically, the unified ancient Egyptian religion that we all are very familiar with today, is the story of the royal ancient bloodline and key heroes, that was fused and reconfigured by their alignment with their actual ancient sciences, time patterns, celestial systems, Mother Nature, or nature just period. Understand that the pharaohs were considered divine representatives on earth, descending from gods. The nature of the greatest, main, and key essential things in our existence is what we also connect with the gods. So the ancient ruling royals was the human part or representative of the natural phenomenons and universal divinities of nature that inevitably rules. Therefore, when they designed their myths, they used the actual stories of reality that was based off key or royal figures, in order to give metaphor to the science of all actions of nature around them. Okay. I don't think I can say that any clearer. So there was already a science about the earth, already a spookism worship for the earth. And then, in its fulfillment, Lord Ka, his actions, family, story, etc., was blended with the key figures of the ancient sciences and myths. And that's why three main deities is revealed with Lord Ka, the Kentia Menshu. These three main deities are Geb, Osiris, Anubis. So Geb represents the first Horus, as Kentia Menshu. Geb is the father of Osiris, yet originally Osiris didn't exist. It was Kentia Menshu. And the ancient story about Geb, the earth, reveals how his dad or brother, Shu, which is air, had to stand between him and his sister, Nut or Neat, which is the night sky or belt of stars. This is an inevitable universal story about nature. Yet, it was coined in the ancient religion to run parallel, reflecting the life of Lord Ka. Like, think about it, why did the goddess Nut have to be the god Geb's sister? I mean, why not his cousin or mother? It's because, in actuality, within the hidden history of the real Lord Ka, he did indeed have some illegal stuff going on with his royal sister, and they was indeed separated. You would be able to understand better when you understand the real name of the god of earth in ancient Egypt. And yeah, it resonates with the ancient Americas highly.
Okay, Lord Ka. When it comes to Ka, K-A-H, or K-H-A, Ka, Koha, Ka, we finna break this shit down. Let's get it, we finna break it down. Okay, in the case of the Netjer god, ancient Egyptian Kim, Jeb. Okay, Jeb is Lord over earth. Now, what is the Egyptian word for earth? Because remember, the Sumerian god Enki, his name means Lord Earth. The N in his name sometimes is pronounced as An or In, but both are the same, and it means Lord. Ki and Ki, or Ki, means earth. Now, Ki is very similar to the Egyptian word Ka, but that was just a minor comparison. Anyway, back to Jeb, aka Ka. The Egyptian or ancient Kin word for earth is Kia. The pronunciation is a sound between the word Ka and Kia. So possibly it's pronounced as a quick Kia or Kia.
Just for fundamental reasons and not to make things complicated, we're just gonna call it and pronounce it as Ka.
And trust me, this is the exact same way that the following people of that land through time period down through the years also perceived the word Kia and Ka simultaneously. So Kia and Ka is the same word. These people, the ancient people, thought the same way, and I'm finna show y'all this.
Okay, the Egyptian word for earth, Kinch, Kia. So Q vowel H is demotic. That's the demotic term, and when you translate that to the Coptic, it spells as K-A-H, Ka, or Kahi. That's what you see right there, K-A-H, that's Ka. Yeah, and I know I'm on Wikipedia, like I said. I was just going to show you the basics of it. But now I'm finna go and show you, like I'm finna really show you the deepness of it, so you won't try to use the Wikipedia thing, because I already know how Wikipedia is. So what I did is, I just looked at the Coptic dictionary, and etymology, Coptic etymologies, because Coptic is basically
The language is a language that derived from the tongue of the ancient Egyptians. Okay, let's get it. Okay, you see now I'm going to the Coptic dictionary online. Okay, yeah, it's very free. Okay, you see this? That's the symbol right there. When you plug in, you see this? That's the Ka. Earth, soil, earth, land, country, measure the land. So you see there's no cap. And then when you go to it, it'll give you the whole thing about it. You see this? Gives you everything. How many times this thing is used in all. This word, this term, other terms used off this. Look at this.
Okay, now look at this. According to Kemet.org, as you see, alternatives as Seb, but then you see Kib and Kib. Two of them. So the Kia is earth, and the Bia or the Aba, Kia Ba, spirit, vital force of earth, Kia Ba. It was originally Kib, or with a Q, Kib, which became the Gib, or Gib.
Geb is often invoked as the first ruler of Kemet, and some ancient king lists actually list him and his immediate descendants, Weezer and Haruese, as if they had ruled as physical kings.
Because they did rule as physical kings. Master Apu, Lord Ka II, ruled as the Kentiamenti, which was the king who controlled the land, controlled the earth, the vital force of the earth. Lord Ka, Keb, the vital force of the earth, the energy of the earth spirit, earth god, earth lord, the Lord, first Lord. So in conclusion, the god Gib, or Jib, however, but Gib is actually Kia, or Kib. To be simple, is Kia Kai, or Kai or Ki. Gil was pronounced as Kia. Kib, Lord Kib, Kia, Ka. So from Kai to Kai to Kib is the ancient Egyptian pronunciation of earth. And if you go to the west, where Kentiamenti from, or what is Kentiamenti, the westerners, the far west, in ancient America, in their dead land, or spirit world, what they call their land, the spirit world, the word for earth is Kiabin, Kiab for short though, Kiab for short. And that, all the tribes don't call earth Kiab or Ka, but that was just food for thought. Another name for earth was Chiak, and that is the strong CHSH that represents Chanti Amatu, the far westerners. And this is Geb, aka Kia, in the representation of a serpent, father of the serpents. And the serpents represent what? Waterways, or premortal ways, and premortal ways are what? Energy ways, spiritual ways. And Lord Ka, or Kia, Jib, basically is the spirit of earth. Lord Ka Apu Second is the teacher of the spirit of earth, the soul of earth, or spirit of all earthlings. And this is evident in how they depicted the god Gib, or Kia, or Kib. They depicted him with a gander or goose bird, which represented the sunbird of parentry and familyhood, fertility, and would represent the rising of fertility, the heights of growth of all the agriculture of the earth, because it's the blooming fertility rising to heaven, or the celestial realms. It represented the connection to heaven, because it was the Ka, or the Ba rising, the physical carnal material rising to the upper realms. Look it up, you'll see. This is the feather serpent priesthood leader teaching the evolution of the soul, the rising, the serpent rising, Kundalini rising.
Geb and what is Quetzalcoatl and the royal priestess sister. So in the story of Geb, in the mythology he is separate from his twin sister Nut by their father Shu. And one of Shu's main element is air, void, and wind. But in some olden translations and traditions, Shu sometimes is represented as Geb brother, and sometimes as the breath of Geb himself. But because of the tradition of Shu being his father, we are going to stay towards that narrative. Rather father or brother. This story is reflected in ancient America with none other than the Khans Nagas of the Maya feathered serpents. Now, back to Quetzalcoatl, the plumed, feathered, /horned serpent. studying his story, which isn't hard to find at all. Pertaining to Quetzalcoatl and his royal priestess, in some stories, she's a virgin heir, while in others, she is his royal twin sister. Yet, in the story, the feathered serpent is tricked by his brother. The brother, the one who he always wore over the rulership of the world with. In the myth, his brother tricked him into a drunkard intoxicated state from a concocted alcoholic-ish beverage, in which caused him to engage into illicit actions with his royal priestess sister, in which defiled the sacredness of their land, temple, law, customs, etc. Because of his actions, from the guilt and royal pressure, he fled. In some accounts, he set himself ablaze, which style, as a sacrifice, with an insinuation that he would reincarnate. In which some say he sailed away on a boat, with an insinuation that he would return. Yet in some accounts, both stories are slightly entwined, with him faking his death, and departing to the east. Now that's more on a deeper study, but you have to actual look deeper than just the surface material of information. But do you see how both stories from two separate continents deal with the separation of a royal love affair between two siblings? So the love affair of the feathered serpent was separated due to drunkenness, which I will explain how one of the main ancient Egyptian gods, Osiris, which is a form of Kendi Amenchui, is also represented heavily with some type of drunkenness or intoxicating drink. Now watch this. Shu is a sun god of air, wind, etc. And he separates Geb from his sister Nut, the brother who caused the action between Quetzalcoatl and the royal priestess that separated Quetzalcoatl from the people. That brother is a sun god of night winds, thunderstorms, and much more, but I had to key the night winds. Oh yeah, Geb's sister Nut is depicted with a body of stars. In ancient America, the royal priestess pertaining to Quetzalcoatl is called the star demon, and she is ripped apart by star spirits. I mean, the comparisons are remarkably similar. Totally similar. Not by coincidence, this is the god, but...
Anyway, in conclusion, Lord Kai, aka Master Apu, rather willingly or unwilling, he went to ancient Africa from ancient America because of something pertaining to his royal sister or ruling priestess. More details on their story is revealed with the dog form of Kentiamenti, and which is the original Anubis.
Lord God, Apu second, yeah, Lord God, yeah.
The panther-fleshed wolf dog of the feathered serpent priesthood is Apu, the Lord of Ka.
So the ancient Egyptians, ancient Shem, you have Akhshementu or Akhkementu. See, Akhkementu or Akhkemeti is pronounced Akhshementu. This pronunciation is more evident in the whole word, which is Kenti Amatu, which is actually pronounced as Chuanti Amantu or Chunti or Chanti Amantu, which is the chi or the shit. Do you hear the chi and the shit? Chanti. So in ancient America, you have Zalota, which they pronounce wrongly as Zalota or Shalota, which you should actually know is actually spelled as Ashalota with an A in front of it, and it should be pronounced as Ashalti or Ashalot. Ashalti, Ashaloti, Ashaloti, Ashaloti. Now let's put it all together. Because in ancient Egypt, ancient Shem, the dog god is pronounced as Shanti. The dog or the wolf dog that represents the dead land of the spirit world is called Shanti Amatu. And in ancient America, the wolf dog or dog that represents the dead or spirit world is called Ashaloti. So we have Ashalot,
Shanti or Shorty? Shanti, Shorty. Man, this is the same thing, the same deity, the same science, the same system of thought. I'm telling you, the same people. The minor differences is nothing. You cannot be worried about the minor differences when you have so many similarities and comparisons. It's just like if you was to learn English from a full-bred New Yorker and then go to a urban Louisiana person and learn English, you would swear it's two different languages. Like if you hear them talk, you would swear they talking two different languages. And them people are in the same country. Now mind you, these people going all the way across the water. Like, come on now, be real, man. It's all the same. This is the culture. America been colonizing the whole world, and I don't even want to call it that. They basically educated everything. It's even deeper than that. I don't know how to call it. I don't know what to call it. But ancient America definitely did reestablish their royal culture in what is ancient Africa, and they was feathered serpents, the Maya Naga Khans, the ancient Muur, the Muur people, with Kenti Amenti, or rather Shanti Shantu, playing as the hidden enforcer for the Anu people, because the Moors was the watchers of the Anu. Therefore, Kenti Shanti Amatu, aka Lord Ka, was the enforcer of the new tradition, the new sun, the new world, the new age, the new sciences. This is how those people over there learned the process of mummification, the burial process of mummification. There's many different burial processes, but the burial style, which is mummification, came from ancient America and went that way. It touched down in West Africa, Northwest Africa, went all the way through Libya and on down, and then now everybody does it around the whole world. But it came from them. According to the ancient Egyptians, they even say that the mummification came from Anubis, and we're just breaking down where the whole Anubis thing came from. Anubis came from the West. He's the hidden land, the hidden world, the world that was hidden from everybody on the East, Atlantis.
Study.com history of Anubis with such an important role. It's not surprising that Anubis is one of the oldest gods in all of ancient Egyptian mythology. He was said to have invented the process of mummification and taught it to the Egyptian people. He was said to have invented the process of mummification and taught it to the Egyptian people.
He was said to have invented the process of mummification and taught it to the Egyptian people.
And who is Anubis? Anubis is Umpu. And what did Umpu do? Where he came from? He came from ancient America and came over here and did where to taught the ancient Egyptians. Yes.
SNExplorers.org. The origins of mummies. Scientists speculate on why ancient South Americans started preserving their dead. South America's Chinchorro people mummified their dead long before the ancient Egyptians. One of the Chinchorro methods used human hair wigs and red dye made from ochre. Bernardo Ariaza.
Okay, now let's do a quick AI overview. Let's do a little quick AI overview and see what it says about who the ancient Egyptians say. Who do they give credit to their process of mummification? Who they say started it? Let's see. And I know AI ain't always 100%. I like to use all type of sources though, and the easiest sources and all, so people won't so you can see that it ain't really hard to figure this stuff out. It be right in our face. According to ancient Egyptian mythology, the god Anubis taught them mummification. Now remember, Anubis is originally Apu, which is Master Apu, Lord Ka, by the feathered serpent priesthood of Kentiamatu, the Kanagans. This is all coming from the ancient Egyptians or ancient Kim, ancient Shem. They say that Apu conquered the 9 bowls of Tara, the land of the sun. Tara, they conquered the 9 bowls, which they call Taseti. That was Anpu. Anubis is the conqueror of the 9 bowls.
And from out of the most surreptitious craft arose a royal warrior, general of a militia of shamanistic mercenaries, Chanti Amentui, which is Apu, also known as Ap, the sea dog of Anu, which is anointed by the feathered serpent priesthood with the mark of Isha. He was known globally as Lord Ka. They took over the surrounding kingdoms of ancient Northeast Africa, termed the 9 Bows. Which is the tacity of the Tara? As you see, these are depictions of Anubis, also known as Apu, basically laying over the 9 bows or shackling them. Either way, it represents Apu as the ruler over such.
Now, if you haven't realized, we are basically showing the original, most organic version of the creation of the ancient Egyptian culture. And now I am about to show how Anubis or Apu is portrayed in their mythology pertaining to the creation of ancient Egypt. And no, not the original mythology that we know in our current time. Not the normal Osiris and Isis mythology. In fact, there are many different priesthoods with various creation stories different than the regular Osiris and Isis version. But let us get into the mythology of the ancient Egyptians. Like the myths that they shared among each other, we have myths and the ancients had their own myths.
Not actually a creation story, but here is the myth where the Osiris-type character/figure is known as Bata, and Apu is his brother and not his son. And it resonates highly with the Apu of ancient America.
Now let's compare. Extract from the tale of 2 brothers. You see this? Let's see what it says. Let's just see what it says. Okay, let's see what it says. His brother elder, or his elder brother, became like panthers, or became like southern panthers. You see that? The southern panthers. Okay, he made his dagger sharp, or he made sharp his dagger, but you know that in our turn is he made his dagger sharp. He placed in his hand, his brother elder stood behind the door of his stable to stab his brother younger. So basically the older brother stood behind the door ready to stab the younger brother at his coming at eventide to enter his cattle into the stables. Anyway, get it. I want y'all to just keep figuring. It's the panther though. The panther.
Now that's ancient African stories about the 2 brothers or the panthers, and the name is Anpu. Now let's look at America by the name of Apu or Anpu. And they also were brothers that clashed. But you know what? They was also panthers too. And to make it even more good, is the fact that Bata, when he fled and he was separated by this large amount of water, because the God separated him from his brother across a large amount of water. And the same thing happened in ancient America with Chalot, the dog god, running away from Quetzalcoatl, and he was separated by a mass of water on Pooh. Come on now.
When Bata fled, he was separated from his brother by a large mass of water. Within this separation, a catfish eats Beta's private part. Now let us break it down. The private part is linked to birth. Thus, the private part being eaten by a catfish could very well represent his semen becoming the catfish, as if his offspring is represented by catfish. Then you go to the panthered, feathered serpent twins of ancient America. And Hun-Hunappu, also known as Lord Ka's son, is depicted as a catfish, as you see here, which resonates back with ancient Egypt because the actual person, they say, that started ancient Egypt, which is Narmer. He is depicted as a royal warrior catfish. The name Narmer bears the catfish symbol and all. Narmer is the main guy on the Narmer palette, standing in between Sekhem and Chet, which we showed earlier, linking them to Lord Ka and Goddess Ha, which reveals Narmer to be their son, the warrior catfish, and newly crowned Scorpion King over the land of the Scorpion, the Red Land.
Bata, Narmer, Osar, Hun-Hunappu. So, now the catfish warrior, which is Narmer, this guy. And it is he who stands between Sekhem and Chet, also known as Lord Ka and Goddess Ha. Let's compare the stories. In the ancient tale of ancient Egypt, Bata penis is eaten by a catfish. Bata remained hidden or dead, eventually being placed in a tree that was cut up, and then he resurrected. Coincidentally, the god Osiris also was placed in a tree that was cut up, and then he also resurrected. Now, in ancient America, the feathered serpent twin. Hun-Hunappu became a tree that was also cut, and then he also resurrected. I am saying, why a tree though? Why not a rock or butterfly or... They both have the same elements. They always have the same elements. My point is, everything about these stories and myths is the same. In both ancient Egypt and the ancient Americas, the character of subject that was placed into a tree was always resurrected by or in act for his son. Osiris lived through his son Horus. Hunhunapu lived through his son Hunapu Jr. And as you are about to see from the Narmer palette, Lord Ka lived through Narmer, the warrior catfish, his son. See, this understanding has been lost with the misinterpretation of these sandals and his bare feet. Everyone seems to think that Narmer is standing on sacred ground because he has no sandals on. But in ancient Egypt, art, when the ground was sacred, the art always depicted them with sandals on.
Well, it's more like when the gods are giving them something, or when they're receiving something for the gods, they're depicted with the sandals on, like receiving an ankh in the mouth.
As if they needed the sandals to be in the midst of the gods, as you see here, because sandals represented the conquering or controlling of land. Thus, landowners of the earth were seen as incarnations of the divine, and thus the sandals represented an authority power, enabling them access to divine counsel. Just think, if it was Holy Land, they would not be causing bloodshed on it. Now back to the Narmer palette. Over time, this has been repeated in many themes as a simple sandal holder or servant. Yet, at this time period, when this palette was produced, this person with the sandals represented the act of giving. He is giving Narmer the sandals, meaning giving him the land in which the sandals walk upon. He was giving or managing the land of the scorpion for him, and Hishem had dominion over the southwest, Upper Egypt, and the lady in front of Narmer had more of a dominance in the north, Lower Egypt. Narmer was the child to take full power over them both, upper and lower. Over time, this important figure and symbol became seen as a simple sandal holder, just like Chet, the lady in front of Narmer. Because if you translate her name based off the 2000 before Christ pronunciations, then you would come up with Thwet, which is a mispronunciation because she existed before 3000 before Christ, and the pronunciation is greatly different, in which results in Chet.
So basically, both of these civilizations started almost at the same time, and they have the same exact ingredients, almost in the same exact order. I mean, just think about it. Out of all the hundreds and thousands of creatures on the planet and type of plants, both cultures chose the dog and the grain. Both cultures. Out of all the ways that a love story or a societal story could go, they got the same exact stories. Even their alternate versions are the same. And both grain gods do the same thing. Now let's get into the grain god.
Remember, Kemet, Lord Ka Apu, represents Anubis and Osiris. Osiris the grain god. Let's get into it. Anubis the dog and Osiris the grain from the pair Nefer.
How do we get Osiris the grain god? Well, before Lord Ka and Narmer came to the ancient land of so-called Africa, Busiris Anjiti and Menes was worshipped in Africa. These ancient so-called African characters was blended into one, along with a wave of the feathered serpents that came and united ancient Egypt. The character of Narmer and the affiliated Achmenchu priesthood fused in with the already Busiris, Anjiti and Menes, along with key characters of other minor priesthoods, in which become Osiris. Lord Ka and Narmer's actual life in reality probably contributes to 40% of the mythological created character of Osiris. Kentiu Amentui, probably 20%, because it is the constellation and earth cycles that the actual human character Lord Ka and Narmer is said to align with. 20% is Busiris,
Min and Nefer about 10.
And the remaining 10% is the miscellaneous customs added through time. Overall, Osiris is highly inspired by ancient Americans, thus the ancient Kem cult beginning with the first dynasties, in which was the seed to the remaining dynasties. Overall, partly ancient America, those ancient mermaids and men from the west crossed the gate of the dead, the Atlantic Ocean.
They set up shop.
Hunhunapu from ancient American myths was resurrected in almost the exact same fashion and purpose as the Egyptian myth of Osiris. Osiris has two key sons, one being Horus, for the horizon's sun ruler, and the other representing his afterlife form which rules the dead realm, which is Anubis, who is depicted as a dog.
Its function was at night, during the waxing and waning of the moon with the rebirth of Osiris.
They help in his resurrection. Hunhunapu also has two key suns that stand out, and one take his place as the new sun god, while the other represent the moon of the night, and they help in his resurrection. Now dig this, Hunhunapu is the grain god, corn being the specific grain.
And corn is indigenous to America.
Along with camels, tobacco, and the 7-petal lily flower. Now watch this.
And really listen, pay attention, because we're about to explain the thing about the grain and about the sacred piece of grain, which is corn, that came from ancient America, and how we thought it wasn't in ancient Egypt, then we realized it was in ancient Egypt, then American people thought it wasn't in ancient Egypt, but we're finna break it all down.
The word corn is a universal term used for all grains, not just what we consider as corn in America today, which is Indian corn,
also known as
the maize. But the name corn around the world is used to describe all natural cereals, which are oats, rye, barley, wheat, maize, and many more. So basically, when you hear corn in the Bible and in the ancient Eastern Hemisphere, it is referring to all grains except the American corn, which is maize, because according to the past 200 years traditional education of the colonized system, being that maize originated in the lands of Americas, the tradition is that maize wasn't distributed around the world. Well, at least wasn't known to the Eastern Hemisphere until after 1493. So don't think corn means the same thing as our American corn when you see the term used around other places of the world. But further research also determined that although they wasn't referring to maize in specific when they used the word corn, the Eastern Hemisphere definitely did experience American maize, corn, a long time before 1493. And it was definitely something used to represent some type of element of sacredness. And when you actually just study for yourselves, you will see that for some odd reason they are allowing the traditional lie to continue. Corn was indeed in ancient Egypt, one of the grains brought over by the feathered serpents, the ancient Moors.
Okay, now I'm about to show you barley and wheat, because they tried to make it seem like Osiris is only about barley and wheat, but he's dealing with multiple grains, and corn is one of them. Maybe not all the dynasties, because it'd be hundreds to thousands of years with these dynasties and stuff, but yes, they definitely did have corn. Maybe not every year and all the time, but they did in stages. You know what, I just show it to you and you be the judge. So we have barley. Look at it, barley, boom. You see it? Don't look like corn. I mean, not up close anyway. Not to when you get in the hand. You see how it looks. This is it. How they depicted it and how it actually looks. And this is wheat. Now look at it. It looks just like barley, but it doesn't look like corn. Not up close anyway. And as you can see, it goes straight up, just like corn and wheat.
Throughout ancient times, corn was used as different things, not just as eating. Corn is a grain and was one of the most important grains that came from ancient America and went into ancient Egypt, or came with the ancient Americas that basically started ancient Egypt and then redeveloped ancient Egypt. And this is what you see. So don't let them tell you that corn wasn't in ancient Egypt. It's all, they depicted it. They definitely depicted it. What is this? Yeah. Osiris was also the grain god. And what is the main grain? The sacred grain? Yeah, come on, man.
Reports and findings from 2010 indicate that hundreds of corn cobs, not grain or wheat, straight out maize cobs, were discovered in ancient Egyptian tombs and ritual sites that date back to the BC hundreds, at least like 800 to 1000 BC. And that's ancient. That was a very long time before Columbus. So many different shapes of corn, a variety of different shapes.
The conclusion. Now in conclusion. The story.
Master Apu's succession, the Lord of Ka.
Born royal in ancient America, and was given rulership over ancient North Africa, while competing with one of his royal brothers over their father's royal reign of the whole world. He had illicit relations with his royal priestess half-sister, goddess Ha, Nahachet, which causes further trials and tribulations that led to his departure. He was separated either by banishment or other reasons. The banishment weakened him, and he was eventually killed. Well, that's what his enemies thought. He either faked his death or was saved before his actual death. Either way, he remained hidden in secrecy, and was aided by another royal brother who had authority in the southern zones. Throughout the years he was usurping power and authority in secrecy, only becoming active under many disguises. Eventually he was reunited with Queen Ha and their now grown-up son, Narmer, who his mother raised in secret. He was raised up to avenge his father Lord Ka aka Shem.
Okay. And as you can see, you got the name, I gave you the signature, how he possibly looked. All the cultures are talking about it. This is the Bible's talking about it. His name is Shem. Melchizedek. Shem is Melchizedek. Yes, this is a fact. Just got to study your scripture to know that. Then you'll understand. Then you go in history, you will see that. Shem is an ancient American, came with the feathered surface. Melchizedek is the representation of the feathered surface, the green one of the golden surfing blood. Yes, these are the people that came from ancient America, started ancient Egypt, went on to the Sumerians, went on, it's the same people. And Lord Ka is also the yellow dragon. Yeah, always going back up to Asia. Like, I'm gonna show you the whole thing because it's gonna lead to Shiva, why they got Poseidon. Basically, every tradition, every culture, every type of spiritual belief, it all came basically from this. This is like the key. It's like they ain't really have to start everything, but this is like that centerpiece for our day and time. So in 3000 BC, it's talking about something that happened before that time. And this is the man, Lord Ka, Master Apu. Apu is Shem. Shem is from ancient America. The ancient Americans did take over the whole world. They reigned the 7 seas. The ancient Moors, the original Moors. Before it was Masons, they was Moors.
To be continued. Proving it by biblical scriptures, proving it by the Quran and Hadith, by the tales of Baal, Yam, and Mat, the Greek tales and philosophy, Hindustan scripts, and the Sumerian tablets. Even the Ankh symbol is a sign representing Lord Ka and Queen Ha, their unionship. Yes, Dam Kina, the Kai, and Kai. The Ankh is in Kai, is Enki, Unkai, the Unki. I'm trying to tell y'all what's going on. It's that whole spirit, the spirit of earth, Ka, that resonates in every man. The key. This is the religious key. And that's why all the ancient Israelites, everybody that descended from Shem, they all bear that sign, the Ankh. That's why when you look at the tablets of Ezekiel, they have that sign. When you go to ancient America, where the real Hebrews at, they got the Ankh sign. That's what's the real Hebrew sign. So if you're talking about you believing in Jesus or the true Israelites, the real Jesus would have had that sign. It's all about the Ankh. Yes, these are the people. The real religion came from the ancient Moors with the Ankh sign. Let's get it.
The Lady Storm from X-Men represents Oye, who is Oyak Oyua, which is Queen Ha Hua, which marries Inkai, or aka Lord Ka. Yes, this is all of that, yes.